Hi everyone, in this video I'm going to talk to Ross Grieve, who is a portrait and commercial photographer and also a Panasonic Lumix ambassador, and he's going to explain to us how he took a particularly cute shot of a black Labrador puppy running towards him. Hi Ross, how you doing?
I'm very good, thanks Angela. Great to see you virtually at the other on a screen.
We've been doing a lot of this, but it's great fun to catch up with people this way, and thank you for agreeing to talk to Camera Java today.
No, it's an absolute pleasure. Thanks for asking. So, yeah, no, I get asked about this image quite a lot, funny enough. And it's all sort of started. I was doing some work with Mark Cleacorn, and this is his puppy, Ebony. And he asked me, oh, we've got a puppy who's 12 weeks old, quite lively. Can you photograph tomorrow? And my mouth went, yeah, of course, no problem. And my head went, oh my God, how am I going to photograph this? I never photograph pets. So I sort of went away that night thinking, how am I going to do it? And the image we're actually talking about, I'll just bring it up for you now. I jumped in my Lightroom and the joys of switching between screens. So the image we're talking about is a black dog on a black background running towards you. So quite challenging. And I'm going to take you through the steps on how it was actually done, the mindset behind it, and how it was done within about 15, 20 minutes. So it was pretty straightforward. I was pretty lucky at the time. And this is also being printed to about 30 inches and the Cleacorns have got a copy of it, which they're quite happy with. So you'll see my eyes dancing left and right. So I'm still looking at the screen, looking at the camera. So if you're wondering what I'm looking at, that's what I'm doing because I'm a bloke and I can't multitask. So yeah, so this was Ebony, the finished product, if you like. So she's running straight towards me, and if you're like me, I look at an image I like and I analyze the lights in the eyes, the highlights, to try and work out what's going on. Now, if you're going to try and use autofocus on a black dog and a black background running into light, it's near on impossible with any camera you're going to use. So my first thing was, how am I going to light this? And I used continuous lighting. So I used Bowen's mosaics at the time. So if you could use like Rotolight Neos or any sort of continuous lights would work well, but there's 4 points of lighting. So if you imagine Ebony's in the middle and then grab a piece of string, and then there's 2 lights going up behind her, which are pointing back down, which is sort of rim light in her, if you like. And then there's 2 lights down low on the floor pointing up towards her, which the catch lights in the eyes. So I had to have lights down on her level, and that was really important. Otherwise, it would just be lost. So this created a light pool, which you can see on the floor in front of you. And then I just got an object and I put it in the middle and I pre-focused. So I used autofocus, focused on that, and then I flicked to manual mode. Now this was actually shot on a Lumix GH4. And for photographers who aren't familiar with focus peaking, so at the time that was new to me as well. Focus peaking gives you highlights, a visual highlight of what's in focus. So it's a sort of videographer's tool, but photographers can now use it as well. And I could see what was in focus. So I could see the bag was showing sort of blue highlights around it. So I knew that was sharp. Locked the focus down into manual and on the lens as well, which is really important. And then remove the bags. Everything was set, cameras on the floor. All we had to do is try and get Ebony to run towards the camera. So take 1, I'll show you. Now this is in Lightroom, and you're thinking, how can I look at video in Lightroom? You can look at video in Lightroom, and you can also capture frames in Lightroom, and I'll take you through that as well. So this was the very first take. Hopefully you'll be able to sort of see this. And this was shot in 4K. That's the important point. If we just shot a normal HD, we would get a really small file, about 2 meg. Because this is shot in 4K, which is 4 times the resolution of HD, we get a file which is about 8 meg. And now you can shoot in 6K, which you get a file of 33 megapixels. So this is the very first bit we had to go with. Take 1. Stop filming now. Ebony, look. Yeah. Brilliant.
Not very helpful
So,
there, Ebony.
yeah. So I don't, could you hear the audio on the video as well, Angela? I'm not sure if you could.
I could just about make it out, yes.
Okay. So yeah, it was just that trying me to coax Ebony towards the camera.
Right.
And I had a treat above the camera for her to go to, because first take, she wants to have a good sniff. And the other important thing, once Debbie put Ebony on the floor, she has to get out of shot very, very quickly. And normally a dog owner, if I'm doing this, I'll have, if there's two of them, I'll have one standing behind me because they're more familiar with them as well. But with Ebony being a puppy, she's very much into exploring and things like that. So she doesn't care too much about her owners at that point. So from that, I was able to get this frame. If it's going to open, there we are. So that's not very exciting. In fact, it's not even sharp. But the reason I'm shooting in 4K, you may be asking, is because I can exploit a high frame rate. If I shot traditional methods, I could shoot at maybe 10 or 9 frames a second. I'm shooting at 30 frames a second, so I get more choice when she runs through this light pull. And that's why I chose that method. So we sort of moved on from that, thought, okay, the theory works. And you can see actually up the top here as well what my settings are. So this is about the sweet spot I find at a shutter speed on the GH4, possibly GH5 if you're shooting fast stuff. Because of low light, it was 1.8, and my ISO was only 400. And the lens I'm using is the Noctichrome, which is a 42.5. That's equivalent to 85mm in full frame terms, and it's an f1.2. So you can, what I'm doing.
Sorry, Ross, I was just going to say that's quite important, those settings, because it's important to remember that although you're using video technology, you're actually using it to create stills, and that's why you're using a much faster shutter speed than you would if you were recording a video.
Absolutely. And so I'm using video technology, but still thinking like a photographer, but exploiting that technology. And that's the important thing. People sort of think, oh, this technology I can use at a wedding and I can just create a photo book after video in a wedding. Well, you can't, because a videographer would normally shoot at about a 50th or a 60th of a second, which is too slow, so things would be blurred. So you need to think like a photographer to actually do this. And it's just about getting a really high frame rate for some jobs you need, which we do need a high frame rate sometimes. I use it for sports as well. I shoot triathlons. I know a colleague of mine, Ian Cook, he's used it for some sport that he's done as well, but he's restricted. You know, it's another story altogether. Anyway, take two. So you can see down at the bottom, you can see the difference between JPEGs and the film footage is by sort of a timestamp or the length of it there. So this is 21 seconds. The first take was only 13 seconds. So I'm not filming for minutes on end either. And that's really, really important too. People are wondering, I'm going to fill up my SD card. I'm not going to have any room left. Well, you are, because 1 gig is about 1 minute. You're only doing little bursts as well. And these are my master files, if you like. I can also review this footage in camera, and I can also save this footage in camera as well. So let's have a look and see how take two went. Okay, rolling. If you want to go to the right. Ebony. Yeah, excellent.
Managed to dodge the focus point completely there.
Oh, I completely lost focus point, and but she got her treat, so that was the main thing. So she's going, I'm getting fed. So she's starting to realize that if she comes to me, she gets a treat. So rather than sort of going the longest route, which I think we actually kept that rain a bit, and she might have gone back around. And she went to the side. So there you can sort of see the focus point picked up then.
Yeah.
And then we got lucky. It's a third take. And the spinning wheel of death. So this was the third take, and this is 9 seconds. Okay, rolling. Ebony, what's this? What's this? Good girl. And then she hit the camera. Now, what we got from that's the lights I was using. So there's 4 of them. That gives you an idea.
Yeah.
So the image that came from that was this.
Oh, yeah.
Now, if I go into this footage here, so this is what you can do within Lightroom. So video footage, and if you click the little sprocket, it produces all the thumbnails above, and you can extend this along as well. He says, you can. There we are. It's been a long week. So you can actually just zip through footage like this. Now, this is the footage that interests me. When she starts going into that, and I can go through frame by frame by frame. So sharp, 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 cute, lovely. So
it shows really clearly that transition in not just the focus, but also the exposure, or the light hitting her.
So yes, it was. So that actually, so we got this one from her, from that.
Nice.
And then we carried on and hope. So what the trick is to grabbing this. You're thinking, oh, it's hard. It's not hard. It's just it's timing, and preparation is probably the best one. So that's quite nice. And I haven't grabbed that one before. So let's try that. And I'd go along here and see a little frame on the right, in the bottom right, where the sprocket is. If I drop in that, capture frame, and it produces a JPEG beside it. Now, what's really important, sometimes it'll stack behind the video, and you'll look over there, you go, I can't unstack it. And all you need to do is just make sure you're clicked on the folder, which the source is in, which the video file's in, and it'll unstack it, and then it'll appear beside it. So I could go into this now. I could look at that. I could hit D as a shortcut, bring up my presets, studio, and that's pretty much it, if I'm honest.
That's very cute.
Yeah. And then you can sort of carry on and go through different bits of footage. And then, because development doesn't support video, but you will see it in the main bit. So now we can have another look and see what else we can get. And she's gone off to the side again. So we sort of had to go a few different sort of ones, which was the best. And then you're sort of thinking an 8 meg file is not necessarily the best. You sort of might be thinking, I'm not going to get a very big print from that. So this is the print that I produced from that 8 megapixel file.
Oh yeah, it's a good size.
It's a good size. So that's a 28-inch print. And the detail is amazing on it as well. I think that's really key. Could have probably pushed a little bit bigger if I wanted to. So, I mean, this was just enlarged in Photoshop as well. So if you go into Photoshop, you click on image size, and there's a little drop-down menu within that. Make sure you click on enlargement, preserve details, and you'll get all that as well. So if we just go along further, so we sort of carried on, did a little bit more, the best we could. The important thing to notice as well is that the footage is good enough to retouch. So you would have noticed I've retouched a collar out of that as well. So I'm just going to share my screen again, which I realized I hadn't done. There we are. So we're back in. But the thing is, you can try all sorts of things to practice with as well. You can, another good reason to try with, you get a full glass of water and drop limes or ice into it and sort of light it from below, and you can get some really, really beautiful effects. And every time you do that, every image is unique, and you'll never be able to replicate that. And it's just a really, really simple way to shoot. It's not complicated. It's just thinking like a photographer, and the fact that you're actually just exploiting that high frame rate as well.
So yeah, 30 frames a second.
30 frames a second in 4K. You can now shoot in 4K at 30 frames and 60 frames a second. But at the time, the technology was only 30 frames a second. You can, oops, there's a little fine for Ross for his phone going ting. But you can also shoot at 60 frames a second, sorry, 6K at 30 frames a second, like on a GH5. So you can sort of get that technology, and on G9 as well. But any sort of camera that shoots 4K, you can do this on. So there's no limitations on what you can do. And then I just quickly process it within Lightroom, and I'll just get rid of dust spots. So you can see sort of some dust spots on the floor. I'll get rid of those and tidy that up. I got rid of the color in Photoshop. And apart from that, that edit was done in about 5 minutes. So I don't spend loads of time editing. And I say that a lot because I'd rather be out taking photos. I'm not a great fan of editing, if I'm honest. I'm a photographer, not a retoucher. So yeah, that's it pretty much in a nutshell. So the best thing I did, yeah.
So just to be clear, you did this using Panasonic Lumix 4K photo mode, and there are 3 capture options in that, aren't there? I can't remember. They've got start, stop, and
there's burst mode, there's start, stop, and there's pre-burst. So I use start, stop, which is SS, because that gives you full control. You literally hit start, it starts filming, and it won't stop until you hit stop again. So that's the mode I tend to use, because a pre-burst will be buffering the whole time, and then it'll do a second before you push start and a second after, something like that. And then again with burst mode, it'll do it in a burst. So I tend to believe you have more control when you're shooting in start stop mode, because
I
it
think it's
literally
more flexible as well, isn't it? When you don't exactly know when the dog's going to hit, or the lime's going to drop into the water or whatever, you've got a bit more flexibility, I think.
The beauty of it as well, say if you're doing the lime on your own, you can hit start, you can walk around, drop the lime in, splash, walk back to your camera and hit stop, and then review your footage.
Yeah.
And then you can actually review it in camera, grab that. If you're shooting 4K or 6K, you can review it in camera. You can only review 4K in Lightroom. And that's something important, because it's a different sort of codex wrap. It's got a different piece of wrapping paper around it, basically, if you look at it that way.
Okay.
So yeah, it's great fun, and great fun with the kids as well. Get some things out, drop them into glasses, sweets, and that's a lot of fun. And just get it on a tripod or sitting on the floor is ideal, because you don't want it to be sort of moving around too much. Get it static and get a fixed point, because you don't want your camera to be moving around all the time. I've done one, which I did do handheld, which was my kids throwing water at each other with a bucket of water, which my daughter had great delight in throwing water over her older brother several times. So yeah, just get out there and try it. That's the best way to do it. Just give it a go. Even phones have got 4K on them, so you can shoot. Some phones have got 4K footage, so you can do that. But anything with any camera that's shooting 4K, you can do this on it, and it's a lot of fun. And the whole family can get involved as well, which is what we want to really do at this sort of time, don't we? So
yeah, I think so. And I think it'd be fun to set up. Fun to think it through first. Fun to set up, and then obviously it's great to see the images. So it'd be lovely to see some images being shared.
Brilliant. Yes, get out there, have a go while the weather's good, because when summer comes around, it'll be raining.
All right, speak soon, Ross. Thanks very much.
Cheers, Angela. Thanks a lot. Ta-da.
Bye.